Welcome to Wealth Hustle 247 podcast, your trusted guide to financial literacy, business innovation, and entrepreneurial success. Learn how to grow your wealth, make informed decisions, and turn your ideas into profitable ventures.
Great businesses are built by great teams. In this AI-generated overview of business teams that drive success, discover the secrets to building and leading teams that inspire innovation, collaboration, and growth. Learn how to create a winning culture that transforms visions into reality. Success isn't just a goal, it's a team effort. Let's build greatness together.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive.
Let's do it.
All right, so, you guys sent us some pretty interesting stuff, and today's no exception. We got this doc all about building successful teams.
13 key criteria, actually.
13, right. Yeah, 13 key criteria, everything from like shared vision to continuous improvement, really practical stuff no matter where you are in the team building process.
Yeah, for sure. Putting a new team together, trying to figure out why your current one's not quite working.
Exactly. And I gotta say what I find really fascinating about this document is how it goes beyond just skills and experience.
It does. It's like you can't just throw a bunch of talented people in a room and expect magic to happen.
Right. It's like a recipe. You need all the right ingredients.
Yeah.
And speaking of ingredients, one of the first criteria that jumped out at me was passion and drive.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense, right? You want people who are excited about what they do.
Totally. But, how do you actually spot that in someone? Aside from, just them saying, oh, I'm super passionate.
Right. It's got to be more than just like surface level enthusiasm. Think about it. You've probably seen it happen before. Someone comes in all gung-ho, but then like fizzles out when things get tough.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So what are we looking for? How do we know it's the real deal?
You got to look deeper. Has this person like gone above and beyond in their previous roles? Do they have side projects that show their commitment? You want to see that like fire in their belly, that thing that keeps them going even when it's hard.
Makes sense. So are they actually walking the walk, not just talking the talk?
Exactly. Now, another criteria that stood out to me, and this one's a little trickier, is cultural fit and long-term compatibility.
Yeah, this one feels a little more nuanced. Like, sure, you want everyone to get along, but this seems deeper than that.
Way deeper. It's about finding people who not only complement each other in terms of skills, but also in terms of values, work styles, communication preferences.
Almost like building a team personality.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And if those personalities clash.
Ooh, recipe for disaster.
Big time.
So how do you even begin to assess that? You can't just give someone a personality test and call it a day, right?
No, it's definitely not that simple, but there are things you can do. First, think about your team's core values. What kind of environment do you want to create?
Right, what's the vibe?
Exactly. Then, tailor your interview questions to dig into those areas. For example, if collaboration is key for your team, ask candidates to describe a time they had to work through a disagreement with a colleague.
Ah, so you can see how they approach conflict, how they communicate.
Yep. Their response will tell you a lot about whether they'd be a good fit for your team's culture.
And the document also talks about long-term compatibility, making sure everyone's on the same page about growth and roles and all that. Did that resonate with you?
Oh, absolutely. It's about proactively minimizing potential issues down the line. Think about it. If someone wants to move up quickly, but there's no room for that, they're going to get frustrated.
Yeah, or if someone wants a more hands-on role, but the team's moving towards automation, that's not a good fit.
Exactly. So by being upfront about those things from the beginning, you can avoid a lot of problems later.
It's all about clear expectations right from the start. Okay, now there's another criteria here that I gotta admit makes me a little nervous just thinking about it. Conflict resolution skills.
Ah, yes. Conflict.
Let's be real, conflicts happen.
Yeah.
On every team. It's just part of working with other humans.
It is. But here's the thing. Conflict isn't always a bad thing. In fact, it can be incredibly productive if it's handled well.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, think about it. You have different perspectives, different ideas clashing, and that friction can actually spark creativity.
Yeah, I can see that. Like iron sharpens iron, right?
Exactly. But of course, if team members don't have the skills to navigate that conflict in a healthy way, well, it can go south pretty quickly.
Totally. So it's not about avoiding conflict altogether. It's about having people who can handle it well.
Right. It's about seeing those disagreements as opportunities for growth, for better solutions. And when you're building a team, you got to look for evidence of those skills.
So during interviews, should we be asking about how they've handled conflict in the past?
Absolutely. Have them describe a specific situation, what strategies they used, what they learned. Their answers will tell you a lot.
Okay, conflict, check. Moving on to something a little less intense. Shared vision and values seems like a pretty fundamental building block for any team.
It's the foundation. It's like without it, you're just a bunch of people rowing in different directions, no cohesion.
And I'm guessing this goes beyond just having a mission statement on the wall, right?
Definitely. It's about making sure everyone understands and buys into the team's purpose, their long-term goals, their core values. It's about alignment on the why behind the what.
Okay, so how do you actually create that shared understanding? It's got to be more than just dictating it from the top down, right?
It is. You have to involve the team.
Yeah.
Have workshops, brainstorming sessions, where everyone can contribute their ideas and perspectives.
I like that. Everyone gets a voice.
Exactly. And that sense of ownership is super important.
Yeah, because then they're not just following orders, they're actually invested in the team's success.
Right.
Okay, so shared vision, conflict management. What about the actual work? Complementary skills and expertise seems like a no-brainer. You need a mix of different skills, right?
Of course. But the key word here is complementary,
Yeah.
meaning you don't want a team of like all strategists or all doers. You need that balance where individual weaknesses are addressed and everyone can play to their strengths.
Like pieces of a puzzle fitting together.
Perfect analogy. Now, if you're listening to this thinking, okay, great, but how do I actually do this? Well, the document suggests starting with a skills gap analysis.
Okay, interesting. So before you even start interviewing, you have a clear picture of what skills you need.
Exactly. What are the essential skills for your team to achieve its goals, and where are you currently lacking?
Got it. So you know exactly what to look for in potential team members.
Yep. And then when you are looking at candidates, don't just rely on resumes. Dig deeper. Always dig deeper. Look at their track record. What have they actually achieved in their previous roles? How have they demonstrated the specific skills you need?
It's not just about what they say they can do, it's about what they've actually done. Show, don't tell.
Love that. Okay, so we've got shared vision, complementary skills. Now, what about strong communication and collaboration skills? Aren't those kind of a given?
Yeah, I mean, you'd think so, right? Those should be like baseline requirements.
You'd think. But honestly, communication breakdowns are one of the biggest causes of dysfunction on teams.
Tell me about it. Misunderstandings, missed deadlines, duplicated work. It's a nightmare.
It really is. And that's why it's so crucial to assess these skills during the team building process. Don't just assume everyone's a good communicator.
So how do we actually test for that? Like in an interview setting?
The document recommends incorporating team building exercises.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, put those candidates in a real-world scenario and see how they interact, how they communicate their ideas, how they respond to feedback.
Oh, I like that. So it's not just hypothetical. They're actually showing you how they'd work on a team.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask those behavioral interview questions. Tell me about a time you had to deliver difficult feedback, or how have you navigated a challenging group dynamic?
Their answers will reveal a lot about their communication style and their ability to collaborate. Okay, communication, check. So we've got shared vision, we've got complementary skills, we've got good communicators. What's next on our list?
Let's talk about emotional intelligence and resilience. These are becoming increasingly important, especially in today's world.
Ooh, yeah. This one really resonates with me. It's not just about IQ anymore, right? It's about being able to handle the emotional side of things, the ups and downs of teamwork.
Exactly. The document highlights empathy as a crucial component of emotional intelligence. You want team members who can understand and relate to each other's perspectives, build strong relationships based on trust and respect.
And resilience. It's all about bouncing back from setbacks, handling pressure, not letting stress get the best of you.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So how do we assess these qualities?
Yeah, that's a good question. How do you measure empathy?
Well, the document mentions using things like psychometric tests or behavioral interviews, really dig into their past experiences.
Okay, so you're looking for those real-world examples again, not just taking their word for it.
Right. Ask them to describe a time they faced a difficult situation. How did they manage their emotions? What did they learn?
Their answers will give you some valuable insights. Okay, sensing a theme here. Dig deeper. Look for those real-world examples. Don't just rely on surface-level impressions. Makes sense, though. You're making a big investment when you bring someone onto your team.
Huge investment. And speaking of investments, the next criteria on our list is integrity and accountability. Absolutely essential for building trust within a team.
This one feels pretty straightforward. You want people who are honest, ethical, take responsibility for their actions.
It seems simple, but you'd be surprised how often those qualities are overlooked. And the consequences can be disastrous. So the document stresses the importance of thorough background checks and reference verifications.
Don't just assume someone's trustworthy. Do your homework.
Exactly. And once the team is formed, it's crucial to establish clear roles and accountability frameworks. Who's responsible for what? Having those guidelines in place can prevent so many headaches down the road.
And it avoids those. But I thought you were doing that.
Yeah.
Situations. All right, integrity and accountability, check. What about adaptability and innovation? These seem especially important these days with everything changing so fast.
They are. Essential for survival, actually. Think
Yeah.
about it. Technologies are evolving, markets are shifting, new challenges are popping up all the time.
Yeah, if your team can't adapt, they're going to get left behind.
Exactly. So you're looking for people who aren't afraid to, step outside their comfort zone, who are curious, always looking to improve, and can think on their feet.
So how do you spot those qualities during the hiring process?
Well, the document suggests using adaptability tests, giving candidates ambiguous scenarios and seeing how they respond. Do they have a flexible mindset?
It's not about having all the answers. It's about being able to learn and adapt quickly.
Right. And once the team is formed, you need to cultivate a culture of continuous learning and experimentation.
So it's okay to try new things, to fail fast, and to learn from those failures.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're on a roll here. Ready to tackle one more criteria before we move on to part 2.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about financial alignment and stability. Now, this one might not be the most exciting topic, but I can definitely see why it's important.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about partnerships.
Oh, yeah. Partnerships, investments. I mean, I've heard some horror stories about businesses going belly up because people weren't on the same page financially.
It's true. It's like you can have the best idea in the world, but if you're not aligned on the money stuff,
It's all going to fall apart.
exactly. The document really emphasizes having that shared understanding of financial commitments and risk tolerance right from the get-go.
So it's like before you even start working together, you got to have those tough conversations about investment, profit sharing, all that.
Exactly. And don't forget due diligence. The document recommends doing thorough financial checks on potential partners.
Oh, for sure. You don't want to team up with someone who's going to drag you down financially.
Definitely not.
Okay, so financial alignment is key. Now, let's talk about something that I think can really make or break a team. Decision-making and leadership style. This feels huge.
It is huge. The document talks about the importance of compatibility in decision-making approaches and having a clear division of authority and responsibilities. I mean, imagine a team where everyone's trying to be the leader or where no one knows who has the final say.
Oh, that sounds like chaos.
Total chaos.
So, what are some things you can do to make sure your team has a clear and effective decision-making process?
Well, first, you got to understand the leadership styles of the individuals on your team. Are they collaborative, directive? Do they empower others?
So it's not just about finding strong leaders. It's about finding the right kind of leader for your team.
Exactly. And then once the team is formed, it's super important to clearly define roles and establish those decision-making frameworks. Who gets to make which decisions? How do you handle disagreements? Having those guidelines in place can prevent so much drama.
Structure, clarity, guidelines. Those seem to
Yeah.
be recurring themes here, which
Yeah.
makes sense.
It does. Okay, so we've talked about financial alignment, leadership styles. Now, this next criteria is one that I hadn't really considered before. Network and industry connections. I get it, it's who you know, but how important is that really?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised to see this one on the list, too.
But it's actually super important. A strong network can open so many doors. Customers, suppliers, investors, potential collaborators. It can give you a real edge.
It's like having a secret weapon.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And that's why the document suggests, really taking that into account when you're building a team.
So, looking for candidates who already have those established connections.
Exactly. Look for people who've proven they can leverage their network to get things done.
It's not just what you know, it's who you know
Yeah.
and who they know.
Right. And once your team is up and running, encourage them to keep building their network. Attend industry events, connect with people online, get out there and build those relationships.
So networking is an ongoing thing, not just a one-time deal. Makes sense. Okay, we've talked about a lot of important stuff so far, but I want to go back to one we touched on earlier, passion and drive.
Ah, yes. Back to the heart of it all.
Why is this being emphasized again? It feels like they're really hammering this point home.
Because it's that important. It's the fuel that keeps a team going. You know,
Yeah.
that genuine enthusiasm, that drive to succeed. It's contagious. It inspires others.
Yeah, I can see that. When you're working with people who are passionate about what they're doing, it makes you want to step up your game too.
Exactly. Passion is what pushes teams to overcome challenges, to achieve great things.
And you can't fake it, right? It has to be real.
It does. So
Yeah.
look for those people who light up when they talk about their work, who have that spark in their eye. Those are the ones who are going to make a real difference.
Okay, passion check. Now, let's revisit another crucial skill, conflict resolution skills. Again,
It's worth repeating for sure, because like we said before, conflict is inevitable, especially when you have a group of passionate people working together.
yeah, they're bound to bump heads sometimes.
Absolutely. And the key is having team members who can manage those disagreements constructively without derailing the project or damaging relationships.
It's about disagreeing respectfully, right? Hearing each other out, finding solutions that work for everyone.
Exactly. And during the hiring process, you can use scenario-based questions to assess this. You know, present a hypothetical conflict and see how they respond.
Ooh, that's clever. So it's not just them telling you how great they are at conflict resolution. You actually get to see it in action.
Right. And you can also ask about their past experiences. How have they resolved conflicts in previous roles? What did they learn from those situations?
Okay, conflict resolution, check. Now let's move on to something that's especially important in today's world. Commitment to continuous improvement.
Love this one. It's all about having that growth mindset.
Yeah, you got to be willing to learn and adapt. Otherwise, you're going to get left behind.
The document emphasizes the importance of professional development, being open to feedback, always striving to improve.
So you're looking for those lifelong learners, the people who are curious, who want to expand their knowledge and skills, who are open to new ideas.
Exactly. But it's not enough to just hire people who have this mindset. You need to create a culture that supports it.
Okay, so how do you do that?
Well, you can encourage training programs, create mentorship opportunities, establish those regular feedback loops, make learning and growth a part of the team's DNA.
I love that. So it's an environment where people feel supported and empowered to grow, both individually and as a team.
Right. And that commitment to continuous improvement will help them stay ahead of the curve, adapt to new challenges, and, stay competitive in the long run.
Absolutely. Okay, we've covered 12 out of the 13 criteria, all super important stuff. Are you ready to tackle the final piece of the puzzle?
Hit me with it.
Let's talk about clear and effective processes. Okay, I'll admit, this one doesn't sound quite as sexy as some of the others, but I'm guessing it's more important than it sounds.
Oh, it's crucial. It's the backbone of a successful team.
Okay, I'm listening. Tell me more.
Think of it like this. You've got all these amazing people, right? They're passionate, they're aligned on their vision, they can communicate well. But if they don't have clear processes in place,
It's like a car with a powerful engine, but no steering wheel.
perfect analogy. You might have all that potential, but you're not going to get very far.
So what are we talking about here? What kind of processes?
Well, you need things like well-defined workflows, communication protocols, decision-making frameworks, clear guidelines for how projects are managed, how feedback is given, how conflicts are resolved.
Okay, so it's about creating that sense of structure, of predictability.
Exactly. And that can be super valuable, especially in a fast-paced environment where things are constantly changing.
Yeah, when everyone knows what's expected of them,
Mhm.
how things work,
Mhm.
it frees them up to actually focus on the work itself.
Right. They don't have to waste time figuring things out or stepping on each other's toes. And don't think that processes have to be rigid or restrictive.
No, definitely not. You want them to be flexible, adaptable.
Exactly. The best processes can evolve as the team's needs change. So it's not about creating a rule book that everyone has to follow blindly. It's about establishing those clear guidelines, that structure.
But still allowing for creativity and, some room to breathe.
Right. And remember, this isn't a one-time thing. You need to regularly review your processes, refine them, make sure they're still working for you.
It's all about that continuous improvement, right?
Yeah.
Applies to processes just as much as it does to skills and knowledge.
Absolutely. All right, so we've covered all 13 criteria, from shared vision to clear processes. A lot to think about.
It is. But, it's all super practical stuff. No matter what kind of team you're building or trying to improve,
Exactly. And I hope you, the listener, are walking away feeling equipped to create those high-performing teams. Remember, it's not about finding a bunch of superstars.
It's about finding the right mix of people who complement each other, who share that common vision, and who are committed to working together effectively.
Beautifully said. And with that, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
But before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought. Think about the best team you've ever been a part of. What made it so great? How can you apply those lessons, along with all the stuff we've talked about today, to build even stronger teams in the future?
Love that. Something to ponder as you go about your day.
Huge thanks to you, expert, for breaking all this down for us. And to you, our amazing listeners, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
That's it for today's episode of Wealth Hustle 247. Be sure to follow, like, comment, and share with others. Keep pushing toward your goals, and we'll see you in the next episode.